Last week, I told you guys that a coalition was likely to officially form in Riga's government sometime this week, and lo and behold it did, making this probably the perfect time to discuss how a process like that goes through, what does coalition and opposition actually mean, and how this coalition is likely to impact policy in the near future. The name's Walter, and I welcome you back to Politics Far From Home. Ooh. Coalition and opposition are common terms for two sides of government in a parliamentary system, not just Latvia. With some exceptions, the presence of a multitude of parties and plurality of opinions results in any one party unlikely to gain a government majority on their own. In Latvia's Saeima, for example, that would require a single party getting 51 of its 100 seats, a feat which no party in its post-Soviet history has ever achieved. Parties generally go into any election expecting the need to form a coalition of parties after the fact, although you do get wondrous cases like Riga saw with Latvia's Rebirth Party, who claimed that they need that 51% in order to reform the entire system and replace it with a direct Rigan democracy. They didn't do that, by the way. To better understand how a coalition is formed, let's take a closer look at the results of the Riga election. Once all the votes were tallied up, the 60 seats in the Dome was assigned as follows. 13 went to Latvia First, 11 went to Progressives, 10 went to National Union, 9 went to New Unity, 8 went to Sovereign Power and New Latvians, 5 went to Stability, and 4 went to the United List. In order to form a functioning coalition, one where it's not outweighed by parties in opposition to it, at least 31 seats would be necessary, although technically a 30 split would also be possible in some cases, as we'll see in a bit. These results gave Latvia First a very technical victory, but not a practical one. Prior to the election, many parties said they had no interest in cooperating with Latvia First and forming a coalition with them, most notably New Unity and Progressives, with National Union stating that they would not join a coalition led by Latvia First. The coalition that ended up forming includes the Progressives, National Union, New Unity, and United List, totaling 34 seats and leaving 26 seats in opposition to it, with Latvia First, Sovereign Power, New Latvians, and Stability. But speaking in raw numbers doesn't fully paint the complicated picture of inter-party politics. After all, the ideals of someone voting for, say, the Progressives or National Union are wildly different, making their cooperation one which inevitably has to make compromises and concessions to function. Decisions in Riga's Dome or Saeima or in a local government on a regional level are most often made through a vote, with every member of the entity getting a single vote. A majority vote means that a proposition passes. Failing to reach a majority means, you guessed it, a failure. So a coalition works so long as it votes in agreement with each other. To ensure this, coalitions will most often hold their own meetings and agree on decisions beforehand. The process there can be as simple as all parties already being in agreement, having an internal vote to come to a decision, or once again make compromise, something along the lines of you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. As in, you guys vote yes on this thing we want, and we'll vote yes on this thing you want. This doesn't always work though. Sufficient disagreements within a coalition can see it collapse or reform, having members and entire parties leave and join over time. For example, that's exactly what happened to the last Riga coalition, with the Progressives being kicked out and two smaller fractions taking their spot. On the national level, the initial Saeima coalition consisted of New Unity, National Union, and United List, but that coalition fell apart over time, returning to their collaboration with the Union of Greens and Farmers. That's right, the guys who refused to cease associating with Lamberts, who at the time of this collapse was still in prison.
Destroyed. Cast it into the fire! Destroy it!
At the start of this Saeima, the coalition held a significant enough majority of 54 votes. But after the shuffling of parties and members there and back, it currently holds a tenuous 50-vote majority which, according to latest developments, might become a 48-vote one, barely held together by out-of-coalition supporters. And disagreements within a coalition can be rough, and we might see some crazy stuff go down in the near future. Latvia First has recently been pushing a bunch of anti-LGBT stuff in Saeima, propositions also backed by National Union and Stability among other smaller parties. The most recent one was similar to when National Union were pushing to define family in Satversme, which is Latvia's cornerstone legal document. Latvia First is proposing effectively the same kind of deal, except using Satversme to define there only being two genders, male and female. Mind you, although it passed Saeima at the time, the previous National Union proposal also never made it through higher courts with a pretty simple explanation, in that this pivotal legal document isn't a dictionary and has to be fairly laconic. Of course, we'll only see how it goes from here, legally speaking, but the important part for our video is that the Greens and Farmers, despite being in the coalition, voted against the position of New Unity and Progressives on the matter. The immediate response was the Progressives saying they had violated coalition agreements in doing so, and this would have to be brought up in their meetings. Not long after, though, leader of the coalition government from New Unity, Evenicle, came out and said this wasn't unexpected and doesn't warrant kicking the Greens and Farmers from the coalition. If I had to translate that, it'd sound a bit like, oh god, if we lose them, that's the coalition god. Oh Jesus, hold it together, we just need to survive a single year until the election. There's technically nothing stopping the opposition from forming their own bloc in cooperation, but that tends to be fairly rare. Just because they're in opposition to the coalition doesn't quite mean they have enough in common to accomplish this. For example, the SIMA opposition currently includes Stability and National Union. While yes, these two parties might share goals on the conservative value front, they also bitterly opposed on national questions, with the National Union obviously being highly nationalistic and Stability being pro-Russian. Even just before the election, we saw these two parties butt heads in the SIMA, with National Union proposing a law to limit the use of Russian language in media, national institutions, and public spaces in Riga. Stability leader Rostikhovs didn't take that well. I would sooner expect these two parties to end up in a fistfight brawl than earnestly cooperate. And to see them cooperate would likely see National Union support plummet, as voters would likely see it as an utter betrayal of their national values. So at the end of the day, while a coalition might be a dominant force in government, that doesn't leave the rest of the seats utterly powerless. Sometimes a proposal will come through from one of them which will not see the coalition vote against it, and even find support within the coalition's ranks. It all remains a game of party perceptions and internal power plays. Depending on how things go, the next couple of videos might focus on some more interesting tidbits of our recent political history. The rise and fall of KPLV, the power struggles between New Unity and Harmony, and the power of our local oligarchs. I'd also like to do some separate videos on specific broader topics, such as the rights of protest and marches, the creation of parties as a whole, and conflicts of interest. Make sure to leave a comment letting me know what kind of topic would interest you, and I'll see you next time on Politics Far From Home.